Listen to the 48 Hours podcast for shocking murder cases and compelling real-life dramas from one of television's most watched true crime shows. Go behind the scenes of each episode with award-winning CBS News correspondents and producers in Postmortem, a weekly deep dive. Listen to 48 Hours wherever you get your podcasts.
Inspired by the life of the savvy and ambitious Colombian businesswoman Griselda Blanco comes a new Netflix original limited series. Griselda tells the story of a devoted mother who, with her lethal blend of charm and relentless savagery, creates one of the most powerful cartels in history. Witness Sofia Vergara's captivating transformation into the godmother of the underworld. Griselda, streaming January 25th, only on Netflix.
This is a Rogue Media Network podcast. This is Central Texas Life with Ann Harder.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Central Texas Life. Today, we're going to talk about a very serious subject having to do with young people, and that is gangs. Katie Chadwell, who was on this podcast not too long ago, talking about McGregor Paw Patrol and dogs and all this. You happen to say, oh, well, my day job is with the Claris Center for Families, which is part of the Heart of Texas Behavioral Health Network, and you deal with young people and in gang prevention. And you have brought along with you Elizabeth Ponce, who is also, you're both licensed professional counselors.
Oh, I'm an associate.
An associate, okay. And so I guess it's kind of silly, but I know gangs are a problem. You know?
Sure.
So, how big is the problem? I guess let's start off with that. And what do you do? And what can people do?
Sure,
about it?
So the problem is big and growing. So gangs today, I think a lot of people think of the old style gangs like Crips and Bloods, Gangster Disciples, and they're very organized. They've got leadership, they've got rules, they've got structure. They don't just go after random people. It's usually gang stuff. Well, today what we're seeing a lot more of is these what they call hybrid gangs, and so these are not organized gangs. They often don't have organized leadership. There are no rules. There's no structure. So it's not just hurt bad people. It's how many people can you shoot, period. How many people can you hurt, period. How many people, how many babies can you have? How much can you reproduce? How much money can you get? And they're using social media in really creative ways. And so they're not getting on social media and saying, oh, I'm, this gang member. I'm part of that.
Well, that
they're
would be
posting,
nuts.
Right. So they're posting pictures of expensive cars. They're posting pictures of piles of cash and pretty girls.
Trying to lure.
And so they're getting these kids that are really, vulnerable and susceptible. The kids that have, parents or guardians that are working a lot of hours or a lot of jobs, kids who have been through trauma. And instead of helping them through their pain, they're saying, come on, we'll protect you. They're creating violence in the community and then protecting the kids from the violence that they've created. And so they're really sneaky. It's grooming, kind of, I know usually when we use the word grooming, it's for sexual abuse, but it's really similar with this gang activity and trafficking and just kind of everything that goes along with it. So the problem is big, and growing is the answer. As far as what people can do, I think first is reaching out for help and paying attention to what your kids are doing, especially on social media. And so there's, if you see a lot of their Facebook friends or a lot of their TikTok friends have the same icon after their name, a lot of times these gangs will adopt a little emoji, and that's their sign. And so if you're looking through their friends list and you
start seeing repeats.
Repeats or repeat phrases. So NFL is one here in Waco. And so if you see, Katie NFL, Tommy NFL, and they're all on their list. That's something to look out for as well, is repeating phrases or repeating emojis. Another thing to look out for is if your kid starts, wearing certain types of clothing. So it's not even just, we wear shirts that say what our gang is. It might be something as simple as we wear blue shoelaces. They are really, yes.
Minor
very subtle.
things, but subtle, as you say, subtle things that other people would notice.
Right.
Okay, so you're driving along City of Waco and you see a shoe hanging over.
Sure.
Does that have anything to do with gangs?
I don't know. I think it just depends sometimes. It's hard to tell because it's the part of hybrid gangs is they're forever changing. Crips and Bloods, Gangster
I was going to say keeping up with.
Yes, it is always changing, and with social media, it's really easy for them to adapt and change quickly. And so it is very different than the old style gangs we're seeing. Children are not off limits. Little kids are not off limits.
I was going to ask, what is the youngest you have seen?
So the one that actually started the program that, motivated this program that we've created, he was 9.
9?
Yes. And doing actual gang activities. So what these gangs are doing is these people are smart, right? And so if you're under the age of 10, you cannot be arrested.
Right.
So they're getting these kids under the age of 10, having them commit all these criminal offenses because they can't be charged for them. And so then these kids are getting in very adult and dangerous situations without actually realizing or recognizing what's going on.
So are they committing crimes they don't know it's a crime? They don't know any better? Or
depends on the kid. I think some kids know, but I mean, if you've grown up with it and, your brother's in a gang, your uncle's in a gang, your dad's in a gang, you just don't know better. Yeah, it's what you do. You don't feel like you have a choice all of the time. And so, the kiddos that have families involved in gangs are the hardest ones to reach just because it's all they've ever known. Other kids, they get groomed
maybe have
into it
older
and
brothers
don't
or
know.
whatever that they look up to. And
Right. So it's hard. Some know, some don't. But it's still the pull is the same.
Well, I just know, in all my years of reporting news, and you particularly teenage victims of gun violence, you're just thinking, this isn't a random thing that happened.
No. And here in Waco, we've seen a lot of it recently with, kids shooting kids. And, then that doesn't just end the one person's life, it ends the other person's too, because then they're going to prison.
The effect on the family.
Absolutely. It creates trauma for the community. I mean, it scares people. And then, then here comes this person that says, let me protect you. You saw that shooting. Let me protect you. I got you. We're family. Because that's what they say a lot too. My kids will say, I'm not in a gang. It's a family. And it's like, okay.
Well, okay. I want to bring Elizabeth into this conversation.
Yes.
Some, in your work, how long have you been working with this area, in this area?
With Clara Center?
Mm-hmm.
So I've been there for 2 years. So I started as a case manager and then did my graduate internship at Clara's for another year. And now I'm starting, I guess, another year as a counselor, licensed professional counselor associate. So I'm working towards getting my full license there.
So it's a process.
Yes.
So what led you into this area? What made you think, this is what I want to do?
Man, I get that question a lot, and actually I didn't start in this field at first. So I was actually going to school to be an engineer. That didn't happen. So
okay,
and
that's a little different.
Yeah, but always since I was little, I went through things when I was a kid, and I went to counseling as a kid.
Did you?
I did. So as a teenager, actually, and I think that experience is kind of stuck with me. And I remember being a freshman and choosing, okay, what do I do, a freshman in college? And I was like, okay, well, my dad didn't really want me to go into the psychology counseling field, but I think eventually I just kind of came to it. And now I'm here.
You just felt called to that.
Yeah.
Well, it has to be a calling, because the individuals you deal with have got to, they've experienced trauma, and then you can be secondary trauma if
Yeah.
you're not careful.
Absolutely.
With the stories that you hear.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it is hard. And, I think for me, my background is similar with coming to counseling. I always knew I wanted to, but,
Did you?
I went through a lot of trauma as a kid, and
Oh.
I didn't get to go to counseling, but my younger brother did, and it saved his life. And I saw that effect on him. And, I had a teacher that was so impactful, Miss Green, I'll forever and always remember, was really there for me. And so my whole life has been like, I'm not here to fix problems. I'm here to let someone know they're not alone, like she made me feel. And so, I think at least most people that we work with, almost everybody we work with, has this strong drive and this strong passion to make a difference. And that's kind of where this GAPS thing came from. We're in counseling with these kids, and we're seeing them younger and younger get recruited to gangs. And, I went to one of our other supervisors of our juvenile justice program, Shamika, and I was like, there has to be something. And she's on what's called the Gang Collaboration here in Waco, which has representatives from a bunch of different places. And I said, tell me, what are the resources? What is there? What can I give to this family? And she's like, there's nothing.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, well, that's a problem we can fix.
That's not good.
Like, we're the local mental health authority. We can fix that.
Yeah.
And so we came up with this GAPS idea, and
And that stands for?
Gang Awareness, Prevention, and Safety.
Okay.
And so we came up with this GAPS idea. We actually just hit our first anniversary, which is so exciting.
Yeah, it's new.
It has grown a lot, and we've been really, really grateful. We've had amazing partners. Maybe our biggest is the Sheriff's Department here in McLennan County. They show up to all of our events. They bring tons of people. They help us promote it. We had a meeting with the sheriff himself, and he was like, however we can help, we are going to help.
How can we help? Yeah, because they are certainly aware of the problem.
And Waco PD, too, has been huge, huge, huge. And so their neighborhood engagement team, they are wonderful humans. Brighton and Officer Weiss, they're both amazing humans who come to all of our events and see us out in the community a lot. And, we have a lot of other community partners, too. And so we've got, like CIS and STARI and Family Abuse Center and just tons of people that are here to help however they can, which is really, really cool.
Yeah, the crime victims and advocacy group. I had the chance to visit with two of the ladies from there, and in researching that, of course, on their website, the numbers they have are just staggering. For sexual assault of kids. 1 in 4 girls by the time they're 18.
Right. Sure.
Well, I mean, I can't even imagine. I can't even get my head around that. And yet, I mean, and not that that's what your background is, but you both, had reason to need counseling because somewhere along the line you were hurt.
Yep.
You were hurt by somebody.
Yep.
And 9 times out of 10, I bet it's somebody you trusted and loved.
Absolutely. And that's exactly what this gang thing is. And that's what we're trying to teach is we've kind of got 3 main facets of what we're doing is we're teaching about gang psychoeducation. We're teaching about any kind of related things. So substance use, early legal system involvement, trafficking, kind of those related subsets.
Yeah, it all just,
It all comes together. And then the third thing is like healthy relationships. So a lot of these kiddos just don't know what that even means. And they think that choosing the gang member is the only option because they don't know what a healthy relationship is. So we talk about what does that even mean? What is a healthy boundary? How do we set boundaries? How do we say no to peer pressure? And so every 3 months, we have a big presentation. We do it at different locations throughout the city. Our last one was actually in Belmead for the first time. So we go around because we don't want transportation to be an issue. So we try and hit a lot of different
Make
areas.
it easy for folks.
We provide free dinner. We've Paparolos and Bubba's. Yes, thank you.
But both of those businesses are such great community
So
members.
they've both given us pizza twice.
They probably just give you the
so
food.
much, yes. And then Bolero has been huge. Top Golf, main event. We've had tons of because we give away prizes too. We do raffles
and fun things for people to do.
Absolutely. And Hawaiian Balls gave us some for not the last one but the one before. And so it's really neat. So we have every 3 months we have it where again we give free dinner. We have community partners come set up tables. So if people need help, we've got Medicaid representatives there. We've got chiropractors there. We've got, STARI and Family Abuse Center and CIS and just all of these, any resource you need, we got it, and if we don't, we'll find them. And so then we have people come speak. So the presentation is an hour and a half, and we do a combination between experts and people with lived experience. So experts would be, we've had like Waco PD speak, we've had Sheriff's Department speak, our last one we had an ER doctor speak, we've had Unbound come speak about trafficking, but then the lived experience is really the meat, because we're finding people who have either had early legal system involvement, who have had gang involvement, who have had substance use, who have been trafficked, and they're coming and they're openly sharing their stories about what led them to those choices, what it was like, what helped them turn it around, and what life's like on the other side. And I will tell you, 10 out of 10, the experts are amazing. I learn a lot from them, but the kids, that lived experience is where it's at. And so it's like, you're not alone. Like, and that's
the thing.
cool.
For a kid that kind of gets sucked into this, they think there's no choice.
There's no out.
And there's no out, and that they're alone in all this. And if they can see or hear, this person got out of that.
Right. And life is great now for them, you know? And it's cool. So we've had people who have been freshly released from prison come and immediately share their stories with us. And, and it's incredible. And then, like I said, law enforcement, I can't speak highly enough. Waco PD and Sheriff's Department, they come out of uniform and they just go interact. Like half the time the kids, I don't even know if they know they're cops. But they're just interacting with these kids. Hey man, like you play football, you know, you play basketball. They're getting to know them, and they're there not because they have to be. They're there because they want to be. They genuinely want to help with the preventative effort, and that's what we're trying to create, is a preventative effort to get to kids before they join the gang, and let them know there's another choice and that we're here to help, and people care.
Well, you know, you say that it is a problem, though, that's growing.
Yes.
But it sounds like you have to be so on top of the social media. Are you involved at all, Elizabeth, in trying to figure out, you know, what's the newest thing they're doing? You know, because there's always something new.
I know we received, you know, like some training from like the Sheriff's Department and their gang collaboration, but no, like unfortunately, I'm not looking on social media and seeing, so it sounds like, like she said, it's kind of growing, so like the trends kind of change.
Somebody's got to be on top of.
Yeah, and the gang collaboration is great. They've got people from, you know, Sheriff's Department, Waco PD, you know, like I said, we have a representative. I know they've got a bunch of other people. I can't remember who all else, but they've got a couple people who are really on top of it. And they've given us, well, our little GAPS team, they've given us some training on what emojis mean and what to look for.
Oh, really? Yeah.
But it is forever changing. And so basically what they've told us, and you can tell me if you heard it differently, is that, you know, it's just paying attention. If, especially teachers, if you see kids sitting at the same table who all have the same lunchbox color or the same T-shirt color,
just
or
little things. So you say little things,
or even Nike shoes with a red check mark specifically. Pay attention. And so that's not saying, you know, if Midway kids all wear a red shirt on Friday that you should be concerned.
Well, usually it's because it's game day.
Right.
Hopefully it's because they're going to a football game.
Yeah, they're going to a football game. But it's looking at that, and I think also getting those preconceived notions out of your head. And so it's not just, you know, the bad kids. A lot of times it's, you know, the kids who are getting bullied and getting picked on. They'll form their own gang to protect themselves in the very moment they do their first criminal offense, it is a gang.
Okay,
and
so that's the qualifier.
Is a criminal
right
offense, yes.
Yeah.
And so that means them hitting first. That does not mean them defending themselves. That's not what that means.
Yeah.
But that means the first time they go attack somebody or start a fight. And so pay attention. If there's kids sitting at a table together and kind of closed off, and, you know, ask what's up, ask what's going on, and pay attention to those kids. Start pulling those kids aside, giving them some extra attention, because that's really, these kids need love, they need attention, and if we can show them there's another option and there's other people that care, I'm not saying that fixes it 100% of the time, but I'm saying we can prevent some of it.
It can help for sure.
Right.
You know, and I would assume once they're in that gang, then they have certain requirements, certain things they have to do.
Yeah.
You know, and you hear about these stories, you know, in the big cities. I don't know that it's happened here, where someone is just standing on the street corner and out of the blue they just come in, and it's 9 times out of 10, I would think it's because, there's one I've checked off. I
Yes.
just decked that
Yeah.
75-year-old man.
Yeah, who had nothing to do with anything that
Yeah.
you've got going on. Yeah, and that,
Yeah.
I mean, that is happening here. We're having drive-by shootings all the time where, you know, people that are not involved with any kind of thing, they're trying to cook dinner and their house gets shot up.
Right.
And, you know, I don't know that anyone has died from it, but it's certainly happening. And, you know, when you give a kid a gun, their brains are not developed enough to know what to do with that or how to do that safely. And so these kids are making impulse decisions, and they're following the leadership of the older gang members, and they're doing things that are really hard to come
And
back
they
from.
want to be tough guys. They want to
Yeah.
be,
Well, a lot of them are scared. A lot of them have been through trauma and have been hurt
Right.
and live in neighborhoods that are kind of scary to live in if you're by yourself. And if someone offers you protection, you're going to hold on to
you
that with
might want
everything.
to, hold on to that if you can.
Yeah.
At what cost, though? That's what,
Right.
that's what we're dealing with. I notice you've got some ink
I
on
do.
you. You got a little ink. But I've heard there are programs, too, because sometimes that ink is
Yes.
it's a gang
related.
and
Yeah.
they're able to go, and I think some tattooists they're able to go and get that removed.
Yeah,
So do you have
absolutely.
anything to do with that?
So we don't yet. That is something we've actually talked some about.
Yeah.
Because I have a friend who used to work for CASA here who had started a program like this in Washington, and she was a really good mentor, and that was actually part of their program was tattoo removal.
Yeah.
And so that is something that we're looking at down the road, just not something we have gotten to quite yet. But it is. I mean, if members want to get out, we want to help them in whatever way we can. And so that is something we're looking at. We just haven't found the resources quite yet to do that.
Okay. Which kind of brings us to, how are you funded? I know the Clara Center has been around for a long time.
Yeah.
But I presume grants and.
So with the GAPS initiative right now, we are completely donation based. So
Yeah.
we're not GAPS staff. We're counselors. Our
Okay,
our
yeah,
jobs
you
are funded
work
through the
there
Clara
at
Center. So we
Behavioral
don't
Health
have any
Network.
specific staff that is getting paid to do GAPS. This is all on top of our little panel, which is us, and then Shamika Pettis, Hayden, and Bambi. This is all on top of our normal day-to-day job. This is a completely volunteer effort.
Wow.
And so food is donated. Clara Center, we do use, some of our money to get like drinks and things like that. But mostly everything is donated. And so prizes are donated and food is donated. People come speak for free. Often locations are donated. And so right now, at this point, it is still a fully donation volunteer effort.
But you could probably use maybe some help from
Yes,
the community.
yes.
Just coordinating stuff.
Yes,
Doing
absolutely.
nothing more than make phone calls or whatever.
Yes, yeah. So prizes, or if there's any organizations out there that want to help us with food, we're
Yeah.
always looking for stuff for our events. We're out there doing community events all the time. So anyone that has a location they think might be good for this, definitely give us a call. Or, schools. Eventually, we want to get into schools and do a miniature version of
That would be
this.
huge.
Huge. Get them where they are. And so
Yeah.
we want to do a miniature version. So instead of an hour and a half, we'd break it down into two 45-minute segments where we do, it during a specials period, and then maybe a couple weeks, a month later, come back and do it again. And again, we would bring one guest speaker with us that has lived experience, and each time. So
that's going to have an impact.
yeah, that's in the works too.
Yeah.
And so if there's any schools that want us to come out, and we haven't started that yet, but we can put that together pretty quickly. So if there's any schools interested, please contact us. We would love that. Because that's really, I think, where we can make the biggest impact is getting kids somewhere they already are.
Yeah. So can you think of a story, without using names?
Sure.
Elizabeth, I know you've kind of been at this a little while. Somebody that kind of made an impact on you that was maybe involved in a gang.
So right now, I actually do not have a kid that I see that's involved in a gang.
I guess that's good.
Yes, but I do get stories from kiddos, multiple kiddos that I see
I
that
bet.
actually just kind of witness criminal activity or like things like that. Somebody that maybe hasn't experienced this will be like, one thing that comes to my mind is this, like, like a specific kid talking about gunshots.
Yeah.
Like hearing gunshots basically every day. And at this point for them, it's just normal. It's like, oh, okay, well, I heard it. No big deal.
Right.
So, but to me, it sticks with me because,
Yeah.
It's hard.
yeah, it's hard.
What about you?
Yeah, so mine is my kiddo for the motivator for all of this, was 9 years old and
Yeah,
was
you
doing,
mentioned.
really dangerous things. And it's hard once they're embedded, because he had been embedded for quite a while by the time I got him and picked him up and found out. And so it's really hard to break them out of that, but it's really cool to see them once they finally start to trust you and they start opening up and actually telling you real feelings for the first time, which sometimes can take years. It's hard. I mean, for this particular kiddo, it's taken years for him to open up. And, there's still struggles. It's not an overnight fix. And I think that's what I would tell counselors is if you've got a kiddo in a gang, like, do not give up on them, because they just need you to prove that you're going to be there and you're going to be consistent and you're not this big bad authority that, they've been warned about. Like, you just have to be consistent, because eventually they'll open up. And that's what I've experienced with mine, at least.
And just pray they survive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really
life or
sad.
death.
It's life and death. I mean, and that's what we say all the time. It's like the work we're doing is life-saving. And we take it seriously. We absolutely look at it like that. Like our counseling work and the GAPS program, we look as life-saving. It is important work, and we definitely view it as such.
Well, I am honored to just get to hear about this and to know that you all are doing this just voluntarily because you see the need. And I love those stories, that, I see a problem.
Yep.
What can I do to help?
Yep.
And then it becomes this big thing.
Yeah. Well, and I also want to say our director, Ron Kimball, is like the greatest human ever. And so Shamika and I, we had that conversation, and I said, well, I have this idea. What do you think? And she's like, I love it. Let's go to boss. And I was like, okay. So we go to Ron, and he's like, what do we need to do to make it happen?
Yeah.
There was no question. There was no, how are we going to fund this? There was no, none of that. It's, this is a problem. That's a brilliant idea. Let's do this. What do we need to do? And Ron has had our back 100% since. And so we are very lucky too that we have like the greatest director of all time. So
The GAPS program. Well, so again, how can folks get in touch with you? Or is there a way, I guess, to donate if they want to donate?
So as far as like donations, like items are usually easier. So like prizes, or if people want to give us food. So
Especially
just calling,
things that kids would like.
Yes, things kids would like, 100%. And so calling our main Clare Center number, 254-752-7889, and then you'll put extension 3100. That'll take you to our front desk. And then you can just ask about the GAPS program, and they'll send you to one of us, whoever answers the phone, because we're in session a lot.
I bet
but
you're dealing
whoever
with people.
answers the phone, they will send you to, it'll either be me or Elizabeth or Shamika, Hayden, or Bambi, and we are all, all ears and would love to talk. And so if schools want us to come in, call that same number. If people want to donate items or things, call that same number. They'll get you in touch with us for sure.
Well, we'll include that number in the posting when this drops. So.
Perfect.
Thank you both so much, Elizabeth and Katie. What you're doing is just awesome, and I appreciate you so much.
We appreciate you. Thanks for
And
having us.
thank you for joining us for Central Texas Life. We'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.
Central Texas Life with Ann Harder is part of the Rogue Media family. Be sure to check out our other shows at roguemedianetwork.com. Please rate this show 5 stars on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, or anywhere you get your podcasts. Join us again soon for more Central Texas Life with Ann Harder. This has been a Rogue Media Network